We are with Moe Norman, often considered the best ball striker in the history of golf. Let's see what he says about which of his arms and hands are doing the work in his golf swing.
Never flippy. Can't. And then I'm pulling so hard. I'm pulling so... This is doing nothing. My left hand is just pulling like mad. Watch. My right hand's only going along for the ride.
You're not a throw swinger, you're a pull swinger.
Oh, yes. Back, pull.
Would you call yourself a left-sided player or a right-sided player?
Left. I'm left-handed and everything, yeah. What's the first thing that passes the ball? Not your right side, your left. Here's the first thing that passes the ball on every shot you hit. Your left eye sees it first, everything. Left hand's leading the right. Certainly. Here's left side control. Purify any better than that, I'll eat your head.
Seems to me like Moe Norman swings left-hand backhand. This video of Moe was recorded in 1994, and if you've ever seen this one or any of his others, you might remember kind of stepping away a little bit more confused and not really understanding what he was trying to say. So my goal with this is to take a few of the points he makes about his arms and map them over directly to teachings on how to throw a disc golf backhand so you can see it from a slightly different angle and try to get a better understanding.
Tell us why you stand so far away from the ball and why your arms are so straight. Maybe that's one of the things that you do so well. It is a secret to solidness and impact.
I believe that's why I'm the best striker. Is I'm about 12 to 14 inches away from my body with an iron. With a driver, I'm 18 to 20 inches away. I'm the only person that's got more freedom with my iron. If I'm this far out, I can't. It's much easier to do if you're in here where you can. Where out here you can't. That's why I got such a one-piece swing, just because I stand so far from the ball. I know I couldn't do it as good if I stood like everybody else.
Point number one he makes when asked about why he stands so far away from the ball is about how when his arms are far away from his body, it leads to a lot more freedom. And then he gives that demonstration of if he stood at a dress like others, and he kind of wiggle his arms around, and it's about trying to find places for his arms to go to make impact. So to talk about the disc golf throw and arm positioning, I'm going to bring in DG Spin Doctor here in one of his many videos on how the arm should be positioned and used in the throw. And you'll see what he has to say about arms being away from the body and more freedom.
John's arm doesn't do much. He ends up in a position like this. It looks like his arm is stuck behind his body, and it will result in rounding, early releases, and not much power or spin.
So this position for John, who he's using here, this very much matches what Moe was talking about when he lined up like the others. Let's look at that.
It's much easier to do if you're in here where you can.
We'll go back. Wiggles it around. You can see from the setup it is very much like we're told to address to a golf ball. And he gets into something that looks like this, which, pretty similar. You're getting stuck.
Releases and not much power or spin. If we look at Seppo Paju here, okay, unfair comparison, I admit, but he's a great example of what the arm does when it does all the right things. Pay attention to his elbow. It's magnificently out of the body. It's the total opposite of this. It looks like this. Not this, but this. But if you don't use the arm at all, you still need to have the elbow outside of your body to make room for the disc. So you avoid this position. This position where you want to be.
I'm the only person that's got more freedom.
All right, back to Moe for point number two.
But that's what I do. Why my club doesn't get offline? Because I'm always reaching out. I got the same eye, hand, body coordination with every club.
The other one you should avoid is to pull with the scapula like this. This is the lawnmower motion. never do this. Once again, it will mess up your shoulder. It will result in late releases. From this angle, if I do this, well, I'll end up here. From this angle, you should release here.
Keeping the elbow up and arm away from the body, which Moe Norman talks about, and always reaching out versus pulling back are so common in disc golf. You're going to find tons of videos about them. Some terminology, if you want to look these up: shoulder collapse, elbow dip, rounding, all has to do with these 2 points that Norman makes.
Never flippy. Can't. And then I'm pulling so hard. I'm pulling so, this is doing nothing. My left hand is just pulling like mad. Watch. My right hand's only going along for the ride.
You're not a throw swinger, you're a pull swinger.
Oh, yes. Back, pull.
So pulling is kind of a loaded term and difficult to understand. If you remember what I said at the beginning about how you can kind of walk away from these Moe Norman videos and not really know what's going on, in this case, when he talks about pulling, you don't have to feel bad because it's also a loaded term in disc golf world. To address the issue of pulling and what pulling means, I'm going to bring in another video from DG Spin Doctor, where he'll go through the definition of pulling, how pulling incorrectly can lead to an elbow dip that we just talked about, and he'll do some more reaching out talk as well.
To get rid of this, we have to stop pulling the disc. So what to do instead? Well, first of all, we don't want to use our scapula at all. There are 2 reasons for this. Now, if you pull your scapula like this when you throw, you are actually making your club, if this is a golf club or a baseball bat, shorter. We don't want to have a shorter club. We don't want to have a shorter baseball bat. We want to have as much leverage as possible because that makes it go harder, faster, longer.
Couple points on this. Norman stands so far away from the ball using, I don't know what length of his clubs are, but for those who know me this year, I've chopped down my clubs a ton. For me to set up further away didn't feel natural right away. I wanted to kind of stay in the normal setup position that I had. But if I cut my clubs down, then I would be forced to reach for the ball. I went through a couple different cut downs this year. I think the irons are more than 2 inches short. Everything's just way down specifically to reach out to the ball and to not use the scapula, what's being talked about here. He also mentions about how to reach out when throwing a disc, you want to make the leverage longer. And so when I cut these clubs down, people would come up to me and, they'd always ask, are you losing distance? And I wouldn't really comment on it. I'd just kind of say no. But the reason it's no is because I am reaching out rather than pulling back. You can have a long club and have to pull your shoulders back to make room for it. And the length of the club is from kind of your hands to the ball. But getting the shorter clubs and getting the arm in the right position and doing this backhand throw, the length of the club is going to be from your elbow to the ball. And that's a ton more. Like you can see Garrett Gurthey here, like looking at that reach out and the length that he's created. You could put a golf club in there and you will have a very long club. Club is just an extension of your arm.
So don't pull your scapula like this. Don't ever use your scapula to throw. The second reason is that if you do this, the elbow goes down. So instead, push your scapula out. Make your arm longer like this. This makes your arm longer. If you look at the best players and there's still pictures right at the point of release, they all have their shoulder out at the release. Means that they are not pulling, but actually pushing the elbow out.
For one other example of what pulling might be in disc golf, I'm going to bring in Thomas Gilbert, who's going to talk about pulling through the power pocket. And then I'll show how this kind of matches and somewhat doesn't match what Moe Norman does, and another part of the communication difference.
The best way to visualize your power pocket is imagining that you're elbowing down a door. You're not going to elbow down a door up here or down here because that's not as powerful. So you want to come through right in front of you pretty much just underneath your chest. And this is going to be the most powerful position that we're in and why we pull through this power pocket. So now that we have pulled through our power pocket, we're going to finish that motion through extending our elbow forward and allowing our arm to whip through forward towards our target. So it's pulling through, extending that elbow, and whipping through. So it looks like this very slowly as the disc will come through and whip around. Well, you're not trying to force it forward, you're just allowing your elbow to guide your whip forward through your shot so you can properly extend towards your target.
Reshuffling the videos around, I just want to show what Moe Norman was talking about when he went through the pull through. And you can see it's coming back here, and he does the pull through, but you can see his arm is still rotated down. I haven't talked about arm rotation, which is a huge part of this, biggest part of disc golf backhand and what is needed for a golf swing. But you can see in his demonstration, he's pulling, but that arm is still pointed down. Now, if you look at Thomas Gilbert, he'll show the flick. It's coming like this. The arm is used as a lever. The elbow is coming out. That forearm is there, and it's moving towards the target. And you can see a huge difference here. This is like a perfect example of Moe Norman saying that he's pulling through with his left arm. You see that club drop down, then you go, wait, what is he doing? But in the disc golf world, they're much more clear with what's going on and what orientation the arm needs to be. Still a pull, but you can kind of ignore what Moe Norman is doing with the arm position on this. Look at what they're teaching for the disc throw, and it maps right to the golf club. Long video, but here are the takeaways. Moe Norman swings a club left-hand backhand. We should all be doing that. It should be a front arm dominant swing, just as the case with disc golf. Number 2, arm needs to be up and away from your body. Norman gets this by standing way far away from the ball, kind of like Bryson does. He'll be mentioned in some future videos. Other way to do it is shorten your clubs. Number 3, you need to be reaching for the ball at impact or disc release. Just mentioned shortening up the clubs. Every single club that we have is way too long because it gets a higher speed from the fitting and everyone thinks it goes longer. Remember, if you have that reach with the shoulder, you're going to have much more leverage. Your distance is not going to go down. You're going to have a ton more control as well, because when you start pulling back your arm, your elbow dips and you get into all these different positions that you have to fix with the timing and all of that. We're trying to get rid of it. And that's what the disc golf backhand does. All these videos, if you look up how they do it, they get the control from getting on that one plane with their front arm. And finally, the move is a pull, but again, pull is kind of a loaded term. We want to pull forward initially, like Gilbert was just saying, but in the end, it is a release. You can see his hand up. You can see the Spin Doctor videos where he also shows the release. Everything, it will show the release. What Norman is showing here in the still frame with the arm pointed down isn't what you want, which is why you can go back from, again, he swings left-hand backhand with his dominant arm being his front arm. In order to find the right way of doing that, just watch these disc golf videos and all maps directly.